picking up the pieces as the damage done by the attacks on July 16th continues to be repaired tonight. We are finding out more about who is footing the bill. Good evening, I'm Latricia Thomas.
And I'm Calvin Sneed. News Channel 9's Hannah Lawrence joins us now live from the Recruiting Center on Lee Highway to show us just what's been done so far. Hannah.
Well, Latricia and Calvin, the property manager here says that over $100,000 has been poured into improvements and repairs here. If you take a look at the lights above me, those are new and they were donated, just like everything else that's here so far. New lighting, patched and painted walls, even a new toilet at the Military Recruiting Center on Lee Highway tonight.
Bullets came through the back wall here. Hit one of the toilets and shattered it in two places and then went on through the back wall. Property
manager Keith Wheatley says all of this, including the construction of the permanent memorial that now sits here, was done with money from anonymous donors.
My phone was inundated with calls for several weeks, night and day, of people just wanting to donate, to contribute, to help and repair.
Retired Marine Colonel Wayne Rich says he's encouraged by that. However, tonight he's also discouraged by the lack of funding from the federal government.
Why did the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers tell you they would not pay for the damages?
They deemed it an act of domestic terrorism.
Wheatley says the Army Corps of Engineers originally quoted they would spend around $40,000 in repairs here after the attack. Then
we were contacted a couple weeks later that there was a clause in the lease that voided their responsibility from doing the repairs. The clause also stated that if it was an act of war or terrorism, that negated their responsibility to do any of the repairs.
So legally, maybe that flies, but there's a higher moral obligation for the United States government through the Army Corps of Engineers to do the right thing. And it's up to our public officials, our congressmen and our senators, to hold them to that.
Colonel Rich says that's exactly what he plans to do. When I spoke with the Army Corps earlier today, they backed their decision to no longer give funding because of the language in the lease, which is standard for all of their centers. They said any further action would have to come from a bill since the Army Corps is funded by Congress. I spoke with Congressman Fleischman earlier today, and he said he was unaware of this situation, but he will look into it. Live on Lee Highway, Hannah Lawrence, News Channel 9.
Thanks, Hannah. Rebuilding after tragedy. Good evening, I'm Calvin Sneed.
I'm Kim Chapman. As the damage from the attacks on July 16th continues to be repaired tonight, we're finding out more about who's paying for it.
News Channel 9's Hannah Lawrence has the story.
Property manager Keith Wheatley says more than $100,000 in repairs has been poured into this center since July 16th, some even improving the safety of the area.
These are new high-tech LED lights, but they're in the process now of installing Wi-Fi in these fixtures. They will also have gunshot sensors, along with the Wi-Fi will notify 911 in case of gunfire automatically.
He says what's overwhelming is that all of this has been paid for by donations and the work of private businesses.
Everything was broken. There were sprayed bullet holes along the wall, the red wall, the back wall.
Tonight, what retired Marine Colonel Wayne Rich says is surprising is that the federal government is not picking up any of the tab.
Why did the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers tell you they would not pay for the damages?
They deemed it an act of domestic terrorism.
Wheatley says the Army Corps of Engineers originally said they'd pay $40,000 in damages, but then reneged, saying there's a clause in the lease that voided their responsibility to pay.
The clause also stated that if it was an act of war or terrorism, that negated their responsibility to do any of the repairs.
We spoke with the Army Corps earlier today. They backed their decision to no longer give funding because of the language in the lease, which is standard for all of their centers.
They said any further action would have to come from a bill since the Army Corps of Engineers is funded by Congress. Congressman Chuck Fleischman was unaware of the situation until we talked to him today.